Crisis in Orientalism is a very important concept in Edward Said's book Orientalism, which we often tend to miss. But the importance of this significant concept, or you see, subsection or subchapter, is, among other things, also underlined by the fact that this was included as the Said essay in David Lodge's representative anthology on modern criticism and theory. Now, Orientalism is divided basically into three chapters. The first one is the scope of Orientalism. In that, the fourth chapter is crisis, crisis in Orientalism. We'll explain what is that in this lecture. You know, Edward Said has said that Orientalism is basically an essentialist representation of the Orient by Western culture and epistemology, which has been going on since time immemorial, since the time of Aeschylus at least, as he gave us evidence, though it reached a new height in the Enlightenment and post Enlightenment period due to the colonial exploration. But anyways, so the basic thing is that Western culture, Western epistemology, Western philosophy was continuously or were continuously misrepresenting the Orient by fixing it into a certain kind of framework, say lazy, unenthusiastic, unscientific, regressive, highly sexual, pervert, fixed formulated gaze, a term from Eliot I would like to use. And all this actually also consolidated the self image of Europe because they were the other of this. As you know, the Lacanian other or Levinas's other is a different thing, of course. So, other, we have the other as our mirror. Seeing this, we consolidate our image. So, the Occident as a whole, for years together, they misrepresented Orient as a subsidiary or regressive thing, entity to consolidate their self-image. This binary, it's a Derridian binary, like man, woman, heterosexual, homosexual, etc. So now we come to the crisis. Where does this crisis come from? The crisis basically comes from the liberation of the erstwhile colonies. He quotes Anwar Abdul Malik in this regard, another important predecessor of Said. The image that Said gives of Orientalism or the Orient is of a fierce lion for the European. Now the fierce lion cannot speak, so people write whatever they think about it, which may be 20% truth and 80% imagination, that they jump on people. And but lions do not unless they're hungry, and generally they don't eat man. It's other animals generally they, but kind of misrepresentation. And then on one book another book will be written, and that way whole body of discourse on fierce lion will be generated, which has hardly anything to do with the actual lion. So similarly, because the lion cannot represent itself, man represents. Now similarly, this is what had happened with Orientalism. The Westerns started representing us for a long time. But after colonialism, or after the end of colonialism, though it started during the end phase of colonialism itself, say in the 20s, 30s, 40s, what happened is that Oriental people are now speaking for themselves. You have Sri Aurobindo, Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, to name a few from ours, or even Jawaharlal Nehru. They are Senghor, Amy Cesaire, Amata, Aidu, uh, Chinua Achebe, most important name, Ngugi Wa Thiong'o, Wole Soyinka, you know, wherever you go in the colonized world. So people are speaking for themselves. So how can the Orientalist representation of the Orient withstand? So that is why that discipline came to a crisis. But it's not a happy ending, as you say in another context. Side doesn't mean to say that due to this crisis it has ended, but precisely what has happened is that that more than textual representation, now the Orientalist structures and strictures and methodologies have very, in a very subtle way, shifted to the media, and especially the news. And this is continued. What British, German, and French Orientalist scholars did is continued by the American media, CNN most of all, and other things, how they represent Islam, Hinduism, India, Arab stereotypes. That is, of course, another matter not related to today's discussion, but literature is always about going beyond. So, crux of the matter is that the crisis in Orientalism has arisen due to the fact that the fierce lion can now speak for itself. The fierce lion means the Orientals. But within that, of course, there will be further issues because there is no one line here but too many lines. So within Orient also some will say women, Dalit and all that we are not represented and all. Those are the further steps taken care of by Bhabha, Spivak, Subaltern group others. But the prime thing that side did is this one, that now there is contestations. Swami Vivekananda is a very important character, though he's not included inside. I wish you should have been included. So I'll give an example. The image that was circulated abroad about India is that, say all women are killed after birth. This is unfortunately true. Female feticide in some places of India till it is going on. That's why beti bachao beti padhao. But at the same time, I mean, this is not at all a justification of that. That is condemnable, must be punished most severely. But at the same time, this is not endemic of India. There are many places, say we are from the northeast, it is very pro women in general, the cultural setup and other places. But the image that was given that all women are killed or girl children. So a lady asked that, Swamiji, I have heard that, all women are killed there. Swamiji, Vivekananda said yes, and that is why childbearing and all are done by men only in India. So though there is a kind of clear overtone that was not, then the lady who asked immediately understood his mistake. That there was essentialization, generalization. Similarly, on another occasion, Vivekananda was asked, because they were familiarized with that issue in that part of America, that Indian children are thrown to the Ganges when they are born. Yes, in some cases it was done due to superstition and all, but this is not at all a general case, some specific cases. But the image they give is that it is like that. Then they say that you weren't thrown to the Ganges after you were born. Vivekananda said, amused in an amused way, yes. And how did you survive? Then Vivekananda said that I was so big ever since my birth that the crocodile could not swallow me. So that is also Vivekananda speaking, Aurobindo speaking, Gandhi speaking, Rabindranath speaking. These are all instances of crisis in Orientalism. I think things will be clearer with these examples now. Thank you.